My name is Chloe, and this is the story of how my quiet world shattered. Not with a noise, but with a question. I live in the city, a roaring, endless beast of steel and glass that swallows light and sound and souls. My sanctuary is a single room, 4 walls that hold the echo of my solitude. It is not much, but it is mine. My life here is a careful, quiet sketch. I wake, I work, I survive. I work for a man named Alexander Sterling. His world is one of towering heights. His office is a kingdom in the sky. He is carved from ambition and old money, a statue of a man in a perfect suit. And to him, I was part of the scenery, a useful, quiet piece of the machinery. Chloe, the coffee. Chloe, the reports. Thank you, Chloe. Always polite. Always distant. A ghost in his glorious, empty castle. I came from a place where the earth was soft and the skies were wide, where my parents' hands were worn, but their hearts were full. I brought their kindness with me here, and their dreams. Simple dreams, of a small shop, of creating beauty with my own 2 hands. Dreams I tucked away, to type letters and answer phones. But I was good at my job, efficient, invisible. Or so I thought. He began to see me, not with a dramatic flourish, but in fragments. A shared late night, the city lights swimming below us, his exhaustion making him human. A crisis soothed by my calm voice on the phone. A cup of coffee placed silently on my desk one afternoon. Just coffee, but it burned through my careful composure. My heart, my foolish, hopeful heart, began to whisper things my mind screamed to silence. And then he called me into his temple of glass. The sun was drowning in the city's haze. He wasn't behind his fortress of a desk. He was standing at the window, his back to the world he commanded. When he turned, his face was unguarded, stripped bare. The powerful Mr. Sterling looked terrified. Chloe. My name, in his voice, was a tremor. Please sit. I sat, my bones like water. He didn't speak for an eternity. He just looked at me, truly looked at me, as if seeing a miracle he couldn't comprehend. You are the most real thing in this entire artificial world. The confession hung between us, fragile and shocking. I live in a gilded cage, Chloe. And I am so profoundly lonely. My breath caught. This wasn't happening. He took one step forward, his composure crumbling. I admire your strength. I am in awe of your quiet light. You have a peace I have spent my entire life trying to buy, and failing. He swallowed, the sound loud in the silent room. This is madness. I know it is, but I cannot unsee you. I cannot unknow the hollow space your absence would leave in my days. He knelt. Not on one knee like a storybook prince, but as a man brought to his knees by a truth too large to hold.
His eyes, usually so cool and assessing, were a storm of fear and desperate hope. "Marry me." The words didn't sound like a question. They sounded like a plea, a prayer sent from the depths of his
isolation. The air vanished from the room. The city outside ceased its hum. There was only the deafening roar of my own blood in my ears. Marry him. Alexander Sterling. The man from the magazine pages. The king of this glass mountain. Asking, begging, me. Chloe from nowhere. Chloe with her second-hand coat and her simple handmade dreams. You, I choked out. You don't even know me. I know enough, he whispered, his voice breaking. I know you are kind when no one is watching. I know you are strong without needing to shout. I know your soul is not for sale, and that is the only thing I have ever wanted to own. He wasn't offering me love, not the kind from my dog-eared novels. He was offering me a reflection of his own emptiness, and seeing my wholeness as the only thing that could fill it. It was the most terrifying proposition I had ever heard. Security whispered in one ear, a life free from struggle. My parents, their burdens lifted forever. My little shop, no longer a dream, but a reality. All for saying one word. But my heart screamed in the other. It screamed of being a solution, a cure for his loneliness, a beautiful living ornament for his cage. It screamed that admiration is not love, that peace is not passion, that a gilded cage is still a cage. I stood up, my legs trembling. I looked down at this powerful, broken man on the floor, and I saw not a boss, not a billionaire, but a human being, utterly lost. The sheer, shocking humanity of it undid me. I can't, I breathed, the words tearing from my throat. I can't answer that. Not now. You don't want a wife, Mr. Sterling. You want a lighthouse. And I am just a girl trying to keep my own small light from going out. I fled. I left him there, kneeling in the sunset. I became a ghost again, rushing through the marble halls, down the elevator, into the pulsating heart of the city. The proposal wasn't a ring. It was a key to a prison of unimaginable luxury, and I had just thrown it into the sea. The days that followed were an agony of silence. He didn't call. He didn't summon me. The office was a frozen tundra of unspoken words. The weight of what I had walked away from pressed on my chest, a constant, aching pressure. Had I been a fool? Had I thrown away a miracle out of fear? Then, one evening, as I sat alone in my tiny apartment, clutching a cup of tea for warmth, there was a knock. Not the firm rap of a landlord. A hesitant, almost silent tapping. I opened the door, and there he stood, Alexander Sterling. On my shabby landing, under the flickering fluorescent light. He wore no coat. His expensive shirt was rumpled, his hair disheveled by the wind. He looked utterly, completely out of place, and more real than I had ever seen him. He didn't wait for an invitation. His eyes, dark with a desperate intensity, locked onto mine. "You were right," he said, his voice rough. "I was asking you to be my salvation. It was a selfish, impossible thing to ask." He took a shuddering breath. "So I am not asking that anymore." He stepped closer, the space between us crackling with a new, terrifying energy. "I am asking for a chance," he whispered, the words raw with emotion. "Not to save me, but to know you. The real you. The one who lives here, in this place that smells of tea and creativity and a life lived truly. Teach me, Chloe. Teach me how to be real. Teach me how to have a life that isn't just a transaction." His hand rose, not to touch me, but to gesture at my world, my knitted blanket, my half-finished pottery on the table, my photographs of my family. "This," he said, his voice breaking, "this is what I want to learn. And if, in learning, if you could ever see the man beneath the suit, the one who is desperately trying to find his way out of the dark." He stopped, his courage failing. The mighty Alexander Sterling brought to a halt by vulnerability. My heart didn't just flutter, it cracked open. This wasn't a proposal from a king. This was a confession from a prisoner. And he was offering me not his wealth, but his key. The key to his own cage. He was asking me to show him how to use it. Tears I didn't know I was holding back spilled over. I saw it then. Not a merger of two unequal worlds, but a bridge. A fragile, terrifying bridge built from honesty instead of fantasy. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I reached out. And I took his hand. It was cold. It was trembling. "Come in," I said, my voice barely a sound. "The tea is still warm." That was the true beginning. Not of a fairy tale, but of a journey. A journey of two souls from different shores of the same lonely sea, building a raft not of gold, but of shared truths. Of quiet conversations in my small kitchen. Of him trying and failing to throw a pot on my wheel, clay smearing his pristine shirt as he laughed, a real, unguarded laugh that shook my soul. Of me walking into his world not as an assistant or a savior, but as a guide, showing him the quiet beauty of a street market, the simple joy of a park bench at dusk. Love did not arrive like a thunderclap. It grew. It grew in the space between his confession and my compassion. It grew in the way he started to see the world through my eyes, not as assets to acquire, but as moments to cherish. It grew in the way I began to see the wounded boy behind the Titan's eyes, the one who had never been taught how to love, only how to win. It was messy. It was painful. There were nights of misunderstanding, where the chasm between our lives seemed too wide. There were moments I wanted to run back to my simple, safe solitude. There were times he retreated into his cold fortress, scared of the warmth he had asked for. But we kept building the bridge, word by word, touch by touch, tear by tear. And one evening, months later, we stood again in his office, the city a carpet of stars beneath us. He held my hands, my now familiar clay-creased hands in his. There was no kneeling, no grand speech. "I am not offering you a cage anymore, Chloe," he said, his eyes clear and sure. "I am offering you my heart. It's a flawed, scarred, learning thing, but it is yours. It has been yours since the moment you saw the man behind the monster and offered him tea." He smiled, a true, radiant smile that lit the room. "Marry me. Not to be my piece, but to be my partner, to build a real life with me, a life that is ours." This time, the question didn't feel like a key or a plea. It felt like a promise of a future we would build together, with our own four hands, blending my simple clay with his tempered steel into something entirely new. Something strong, something beautiful, something real. I looked at our joined hands. I looked into the eyes of the man he had become and the man I had helped him discover. And I saw my future, not in a castle in the sky, but in a home we would make, wherever we chose. A home built on the unshakable foundation of seeing each other and choosing each other every single day. "Yes," I said. And the word was not an ending. It was a sunrise. Our story isn't in the history books. It's written in the quiet moments, in the shared smile over morning coffee, in the charity foundation for arts education we started together, bearing both our names, in the small, bustling craft shop that now stands on a cozy street corner where I teach and where he sometimes comes to sit, just to listen to the sound of creation and of my happiness. He was my most unexpected beginning. I was his bravest truth. And together, we built a love that didn't just cross the divide between our worlds. It created a new world entirely. A world where a girl from a simple town and a man from an ivory tower found their way home in each other. So listen to your heart when it whispers of bravery. Listen when it trembles with fear. Because sometimes the greatest love stories don't start with "once upon a time." They start with "come in." They start with "teach me." They start in the quiet, defiant, glorious act of choosing the real thing and building it together, brick by fragile, beautiful brick.